Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Molly Pals and I'm the Digital Marketing Manager here at Automox. You have joined our monthly webinar where we review Microsoft's Patch Tuesday releases. I'd like to introduce our hosts for today, Richard Melick and Rich Rodriguez. Richard Melick is a Senior Technical Product Marketing Manager here at Automox. Rich is a Support Engineer here at Automox and at the front line of our customer support team. Rich, thanks so much for joining us, and I'll hand the webinar over to Richard to get started.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate everybody joining us on for this webinar. We're going to have a little bit of fun today. If you've joined us in the past webinars, this is going to be a little bit of a change. We're bringing in some different topics that we're going to cover, also talking about Windows as well. The agenda today, Windows 10's big update, of course. From there, we're going to talk about the ZombieLoad versus Mac. That's a pretty big one as well. Yet another Adobe patch got released, and then finally patch all the Windows. If you haven't heard about that in the news, we'll give a quick overview on that. And then finally, how to patch Windows XP with Automox. Rich is here going to show you a little bit of a hack. I think that's the best way to describe it, on how you can use Automox to do what Windows cannot do for you. So we'll go ahead and get started with that. I'm going to start with a really good quote, though. I want everyone just to kind of think about, as we're going through this, 1 in 2 IT pros admit cybersecurity policies are ad hoc and not integrated. That comes from AT&T Cybersecurity, just released that report that came out yesterday. So think about that quote as we go through this. We start talking about security. Now, the big Windows 10 update, this is the big one that came out, their May 2019 update, or version 1903. It is available to everybody. Now, normally when these patches or big updates come out, they roll it out to consumers first and then to businesses. But as we've discovered recently, this one was pushed out to everybody. There are 15 major updates that came to Windows 10 with this update. We're not going to go through all of them, of course, because it's everything from UX changes to login capabilities without passwords, and a few other just tweaks and changes here. But the security side is what interests us the most. First one is Windows Sandbox feature. This new feature allows a user to run untrusted applications safely. Make sure that they don't harm the device. And the best part is that it uses hardware virtualization and Microsoft's hypervisor. There's no need for the user to create a virtual environment. Makes it easy for your machines to stay secure when trying out a new product. Another big one is Windows Security has a brand new feature called Tamper Protection. It prevents applications from tampering with essential security features, locking down settings and configurations, and keeping the OS a bit more secure. If there's anything out there, when an antivirus gets installed or an EPP gets installed on an endpoint, you always want to make sure things aren't being modified by another application. So Windows bringing this capability down to their security platform, it makes a lot of sense. And a little one that almost snuck by is a new microphone privacy setting that shows which apps are using the microphone. We have this on a lot of our phones. It's good that we're starting to see this in the operating systems. Big security notes with new version 1903 also updates Retpoline. Retpoline, of course, is the patch for Spectrum Variant 2. Spectrum Meltdown came about a year and a half ago. It was big news. Now, original patches that were developed for the exploit did impact performance. Now, if these Meltdown and Spectrum were left unpatched, the exploits allowed the theft of data held within higher privilege access areas through indirect branches. Now, previous mitigation led to noticeable performance impacts on the machines, but was still successful from a security perspective. Microsoft went back, tweaked some things, and version 1903 updates and addresses that patch from a performance perspective. So you should, fingers crossed, be seeing some performance increases with this update. And finally, one that is near and dear to our hearts, Windows Update was updated. Now, goodbye automatically installed feature updates and hello per device administration. Aren't you excited about that? We can see the advantages of it, but we're also a little hesitant to go ahead and give our thumbs up on it. Microsoft is giving all Windows 10 users a quick and easy way to pause Windows updates for about 7 days, and that can be delayed up to 3 weeks from that. They have to pause it continuously after that. Delaying potentially destructive feature updates can lead to some headaches at scale, though. Now, while Automox will supersede the settings and allow you, the admin, to push the patching without delay. If you have any machines that don't have AutoMux running on them, be sure to take a look at the setting, turn it off, or advise your users to not click delay, especially after you've tested it. Now for the fun one, ZombieLoad versus Mac. Apple recently revealed that almost every single Mac since 2011, specifically the ones with Intel processors, need to be updated. The researchers discovered 4 bugs that impact Intel-powered Macs and a feature called zombie loading. Now, this bug allows the data to be compromised, potentially revealing everything from real-time web browsing habits to revealing passwords. And that's because the way the Intel processor is using other chips to handle data when there's an excess of it. It spreads the data load out and allows those chips to help out with the processing. It's called zombie load. Well, unfortunately, it's not as secure as they like. So these 4 bugs need to be patched in order to allow this to be a secure process. It was found to be exploitable by allowing data to bleed outside the boundaries of their own app, so other applications could potentially look at the data that was being processed. Apple did say that they haven't seen any use of this exploit in the wild, but are doing the due diligence to make sure that patch is out there and available. The patch fixes the leak and can be deployed today through your AutoMux console with a manual push if you have not updated already. So be sure to do that. That's 10.14.5 and the High Sierra and Sierra security updates. So those are available today. Next big one that came out this week for Patch Tuesday was yet another Adobe patch. I guess this is kind of a common process here. Adobe has released 3 critical security updates this month that resolve exploitable moments through critical file parsing vulnerabilities in Adobe Media Coder, Flash Player, and Acrobat Reader. The largest security update relates to Acrobat and Reader DC in 2017 on Windows and Mac machines. In total, 84 vulnerabilities have been tackled in this month's patch, all of which aren't deemed important or critical. Within Adobe Encoder, it's a priority 3, but with Flash and Adobe Reader, we have a priority 2, so be sure to get those out there. In addition to that, 36 bugs have been squashed this month in Acrobat and Reader. Those are addressing out-of-bounds read issues, which could be exploited to leak information. So if you haven't pushed out that Adobe patch, we highly recommend you doing so today. Now, if you haven't read this or laughed at the news that came out, we're saying to patch all the windows. Microsoft is saying to patch all the windows. Years ago, Microsoft claimed that they would end the support for XP, yet here we are. In a rare move, they are patching the legacy operating system, citing the discovery of a wormable flaw that the company says can be used to fuel a fast-moving malware threat like the WannaCry attacks of 2017. The vulnerability, it's CVE 2019-0708, resides in the remote desktop services component built into supported versions of Windows, including Win 7, Server 2008 R2, Server 2008, as well as XP and Server 2003. Microsoft said the company has not yet observed any evidence of attacks against this dangerous security flaw, but it is trying to head off a serious and imminent threat and prevent another WannaCry from happening. Now, this is a critical update. So if you are running a legacy operating system inside your environment, please, please, please patch it. This patch is proactive, as we just said. And the bad news is, well, for the most part, it needs to be pushed manually. Windows Update is no longer supported on XP, but the reason I have Rich here with us today is we have a workaround. We're going to go over that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass it over to Rich. We're going to teach you how to patch Windows XP with AutoMux. Now, let's be clear on something, and I hope you can correct me on any verbiage I say. AutoMux does not officially support Windows XP. This isn't something that is warranted, but it is something that we have the capability of doing. Rich has built this out. What we will be sure to do is hopefully get over some links to the KB article if you do have XP in your environment. That will be in your inbox with the follow-up email. You can also just search for it on our website. I'm going to pass it over to Rich, though, and he will walk you through this.
All right, so as everybody knows, CVE 2019-0708 is the big one, right? So let's take a look at what Microsoft has to say. So essentially, they're telling us which KVs we need for which operating system, and we can go get those from here. I've got my download links. I've got an link to the article that explains the exploit, but what matters here is the download. So if I click through on the security update link, it's going to take me to the catalog. So I can grab my security update for Windows XP, SP3, and download from here. From there, I can jump into the Automox console, and let's create a custom policy. So custom policies are kind of the workaround for when you don't get patches from Windows Update. So XP doesn't receive them, Vista doesn't receive them. So if you need to apply something here, we can do it with a simple script, less than 10 lines on each side. So if we jump in to an example policy here, we can see essentially all we'd have to do to set this up is to make a policy and assign it to my group that holds my Windows XP machines. Let's take a look at what that looks like.
The chat window just popped up.
All right, so as simple as this, give my policy a name, description if you need it, and then a couple very simple scripts. One, to determine if the patch is already installed, so I don't actually act over the top, although this is optional. This isn't necessary. If you know you want to apply this to all your devices, you don't have to write this first script. Just give it an exit 1 that tells me that this device is not compliant. Take action with this remediation script we see down here. And you see in 10 lines, I upload a file. Down here, upload file. Get my KB that I just downloaded from the catalog and give it a quick script. All I do is start the process that runs the file. You know, I want to make sure it's quiet. It's not going to restart my device out of band. And then just a quick at the end, let's evaluate, did this succeed or fail? So just quick, simple script, 10 lines. That's all we need. And I'll publish this script along with the articles so that you guys can take this verbatim. And for any future exploitable patches, all you have to change is this file name here and this KB number there. And this will work for all future XP patches as well, if they come out, if there's another similar exploit like this one. So if I jump over to my XP device that I have connected to Automox, there's just a couple quick caveats of what you need to see to get everything supported in Automox. The very bare minimum is .NET Framework 3.5 in addition to Windows Management Framework Core. So these two items essentially will install PowerShell and support for MSI installers to your XP device. You can see over here that I'm on my PowerShell window that I'm running PowerShell version 2.0. This takes us back a long time ago, but this is all we need. So once you have those basics there, you can install your Automox agent, and your device is now going to show up in your Automox console. So you see here I've got my XP test device. I've got it in the Windows XP group, and if I jump back to my system management, my Windows XP group is linked to my XP. Looks like it's a little behind me there. My Windows XP group is tied to my XP 0-day policy that I just created. What I can do now is click this policy and execute that policy now. So now this is started. If I watch closely on my machine in about a minute or so, down here in my security updates, I will very shortly see, the KB 4500331 show up in this list. Now I'm patched. As simple as that. So if you guys want to see the code, we'll have an article up shortly where you can get the scripts that I have in that policy and a link to the vulnerability page to follow from there. If anybody has any questions like getting XP machines added to their console or Vista machines added to their console, get in touch with us via our in-app chat feature or via support@automox.com, and we will be happy to help you run through this yourself.
Vista, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time. What about Windows ME? No, don't really answer that. We actually do have some great questions here, Rich. I'm going to hopefully have you help out with these questions because, you're a little bit better than I am. First one comes in, how can I get visibility into which feature updates actually successfully installed and which failed and will not automatically install for 30 days?
So essentially what you want to look at here is what's your current build on your Windows devices. So if you're sitting on anything pre-1903. 1903 is going to be your pending feature update. So unless you want to install something else, you can actually go into your AutoMux console, find your feature update, and patch it from there as well.
Excellent. Excellent. Be sure, this is the opportunity. If you have any questions, please go ahead and post them up in the little chat window right there for you. Next question, how do I best protect myself against the mini Windows 0-day surfacing recently? Ooh, I think we can go into big detail on this one.
Yeah, this one really talks to patching strategy and how fast can you patch, how fast are you willing to patch, and how do you do that with criticality in mind. Do you say you're using AutoMux, as many of you probably are. What if we add an additional patch by severity policy where you patch criticals twice a week perhaps, whereas your normal patching cadence is maybe bi-weekly or monthly. Just jump up that severity cadence just to really protect yourself against the big boys. Keep yourself protected.
Yeah, I also want to jump into that coming from a little bit more of a other side of the security background. It's also making sure you have a strong cyber hygiene policy in place. Patching is just one of them. Patching is the security guard that's making sure the doors are all locked, the windows are shut, and everything is secure. It allows your EPP, your endpoint protection platforms, to work smarter, not harder. So by having a patch management strategy in place, you're able to focus in and get the right data for anything else that might be coming through. These 0 days that do exist, they're typically taking advantage of unpatched systems. Sometimes taking advantage of some other methods. But the best way for you to get the data that you need to remediate any kind of threat is to have a strong cyber hygiene policy in place. We're actually be coming out with a blog here soon about that. Be sure to be looking at our blog or follow us on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, all the likes, and those are shared out through there. Let's get to the next question. Can I patch other legacy versions like Vista Server 2003? Short answer, yes. Long answer,
just like this XP machine I just showed you. .NET Framework 3.5, PowerShell 2.0 or greater, and we're all set. Any version of Windows XP or later with those minimum requirements.
Awesome. That's exactly what we want to hear. And of course, if they have any questions, they can reach out to you on the chat window inside the AutoMux console, right? It pops up right there. We have one more question. How soon does AutoMux make new patches available in the platform after Patch Tuesday? That's actually a really good one.
Yeah, so kind of the way that AutoMux pulls in patches is by each device scan. So as your device scans, it's going to see its new patches, and every scan will patch within 24 hours of its previous scan. So at most, 24 hours after the patch is made available on Patch Tuesday, you will see those patches on your devices.
Awesome, awesome. It looks like that's it for the questions. Kevin, thank you for that little comment there. Kind of legacy, 2008 kind of legacy. You're right, it is. We need to address that as well. Otherwise, if you have any questions for us later on, you feel free to reach out to us on Twitter. It is @AutoMux_app. You can reach out to us on LinkedIn. Follow us on AutoMux there. Also, if you have questions directly for our customer support, log into AutoMux right there, and you have a little chat window down in the bottom right. Click it. You can chat with any of our friendly people, except for Rich. He's a little busy today. May not get his attention, but we are there. We're there to help you and answer all your questions. You can find me on Twitter at RC Melick if you want to reach out to me directly. I thank you all for joining us today. I'm going to pass it back over to Molly.
All right. Thank you, Richard and Rich, for walking us through Maze Patch Tuesday, and thank you, everyone, for joining us. Like Richard said, reach out if you have any further questions, and we hope to see you again next month where we'll cover June's Patch Tuesday security updates.